Hello friends. In this video, we will see the invasion, why Russia has invaded Ukraine, and the consequences have been immeasurable, and there have been increasing petrol prices, and the stock markets crashed, and refugees fleeing from Ukraine, and the terrible pictures we are able to see from news channels and so many other platforms. And this has caused a lot of panic among the world if it is going to lead to another world war. And but this invasion did not happen in a single day. It has a lot of historical precedents which resulted in this invasion. And in this video, we will see what has been the historical route, or what has been the historical precedents which has resulted in this step of President Putin invading Ukraine. So, if you happen to see the invasion has to be understood from, if you can think about it from World War II, we can understand this. And World War II, the whole world was involved in war, and many of the countries from Europe were involved, and even India was made to be involved because India was at that time ruled by Britishers. And if you think about it, it was really a global war where every country participated, and as a result, every country lost its economic power, and even all the military power was crashed. So, in this World War II, two countries arose. One was USA, another was USSR, the Soviet Union. These two countries became the power centers of the world after World War II, and this was called as the Cold War. And if you happen to see, this Cold War was fought by these two countries in so many avenues. In world over, if you think about it, they will be fighting their wars or between themselves in the Korean Peninsula, in, for example, Vietnam, in Afghanistan, in Europe. They did this in every pan-world phenomena. It was a pan-world phenomena. They tried to have a fight between India and Pakistan and things like that too. But India was intelligent enough to adopt this non-alignment movement. So India did not align with Russia or USA, and hence we had this security buffer of being friends with both these countries. But the issue was that it did not happen in Europe. Europe had to become this allied country of USA, because they were crushed by this World War II, and they had to build their economy up, and hence USA was the only source for them. And if you think about it, that is why NATO, that is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a security organization, was created by USA in order to stop the progress of Russia and its ideology. Russia, what it did was, it actually made a security blanket around itself, making the countries around it, for example, Hungary and other countries, Ukraine, other countries as it's not Ukraine, Hungary, Poland, and many other countries as its own communistic and socialistic country. But the event, what happened was, the northwestern European countries, or the NATO, kept progressing. So it kept progressing towards Russia, and Russia was able to have that iron corridor which stopped the progression of NATO. But what happened after some years was, this Cold War was in a full-fledged fashion in every arena, but Russia did two mistakes. One was invading Afghanistan, as a result of which it lost a lot of resources, and the Chernobyl incident, 1986 in Ukraine, the present-day Ukraine. The Chernobyl was a nuclear reactor which resulted in the blasting of nuclear reactor, and it caused a lot of problems. And then came, that is the point, after this Russia was not able to sustain itself, and there was a leader called as Mikhail Gorbachev, and he finally, what he did was, he had to open up Russia. And that is what he did, and this was called as the collapse of USSR. Once this USSR collapsed, the countries, or the states which were in the borders of Russia. Today, the states Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Ukraine, Belarus, and many other countries became independent. So Russia or USSR was not able to hold on to these countries which were in the fringe areas of Moscow, and hence what happened was they liberated all these countries. This became the next step for NATO or North Atlantic Treaty Organization, USA, because USA became now the only popular or prominent member of the world. And hence USA what it did was it started progressing its NATO into the Russian sphere of influence, and it started making other countries, for example, countries like Poland, Hungary. These are countries. So if you think about it, Ukraine is there, countries surrounding it. So Poland is a country surrounding it. In the west, towards the west it is there. Hungary is also towards west of Ukraine. So it is making them as member of NATO. And in 2004, it is also making the Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia as its member of NATO. This is the point. So when this starts happening in a slow fashion, it starts happening, you have a leader. So if you think about it, when Russia collapsed, it was Mikhail Gorbachev, and then came Boris Yeltsin. And this Boris Yeltsin was a among the members, or in the one of the prime minister was the person called as Putin. And he was a member of KGB, and KGB was one of the most important reason, or it was the very dangerous organization inside USSR, and was also one of the reasons why USSR collapsed. And one of the most prominent officers of that KGB was Putin. So Vladimir Putin, the current president, was one of the members of KGB, and so after Boris Yeltsin, he starts taking over the reign, and the world does not know that much about Putin. But in 1999, Putin is watching all these very prominent steps that NATO is taking, coming closer to USSR or Russia. It is taking over all these countries in the fringe, or which were in the fringe, and making them members of NATO, and it is coming into the influence of Russia. And but at that time Russia had already broken up, and as a result the economy has collapsed, and many other problems they were facing, and it was the time for building of Putin. No one knew who he was, so he had to build himself. But slowly what happened next, so all these countries were taken. So next country, so they will think about Ukraine, they will think about other countries. But what happens was in 2004, NATO takes up other, so is the southern country, the Ukraine, you will have southern countries as Bulgaria and Romania. They take up that also. So Ukraine is left. So Ukraine also could go into the influence of NATO. But here is where Putin plays his part, and there comes a person called as Viktor Yanukovych. The Viktor Yanukovych, if you think about it, the present day in eastern part, which is actually rebelling against Ukraine, which is Lushenko and Lubansk, he was the governor of that. He was the governor, Viktor Yanukovych. He was the governor of those eastern provinces, and he becomes the president of Ukraine with the support or clandestine support of Russia. And what happens is that he is a supporter of Russia. So the people want Ukraine to, because all other countries are surrounding Ukraine have become part of NATO and become part of European Union. European Union has a higher standard of living, and hence people wanted to move towards European Union. But what happened was, this leader who was promoted from that eastern zone of influence into becoming the president and was very close to Russia, did not allow that. When he did not allow that, what happened in 2013, there was a revolution, and it was called as the Orange Revolution, and this person was removed. This person gets removed, and Putin, now what happens, if you think about it, he gets removed, but Putin gets even more powerful. How does he get even more powerful is that the 2008 subprime crisis crashed US economy. When it crashed US economy, it did not crash only that, the world economy collapsed and oil prices rose up like anything. at that time $150 per barrel. It even peaked to a very high extent, and even Indian government had to take up a lot of debt to keep the prices of petrol low. But this became a very good thing for Putin. How means in the Russian economy, if you think about it, is hugely dependent on the export of oil and natural gas. When the world prices of oil and natural gas increases because of this subprime crisis, naturally you will start accumulating a lot of foreign reserves. A lot of exports you will do and a lot of foreign reserves you will gain, and you will get a lot of strength. And this is what happened to Putin, or this is what happened to Russia, and it started becoming a powerful country. But the world did not notice. I think world noticed that, but they did not even think that this would happen. But this was not the end. After that, this Orange Revolution, so Viktor Yanukovych was removed, and then comes a person called as Poroshenko. This Poroshenko was like an oligarch. Who was a very high valued capitalist. Chocolate. He was a multi-millionaire. He was a very rich person, but he was supporting European Union. He was not supporting Russia, because already that Viktor Yanukovych was removed because of this support towards Russia. And in this time, Putin strikes. As I told you, so by 2008 he becomes that strong person because of the export. He has now there was a leader who was supporting him, but now he is removed, and hence now it was time for strike, and hence Russia strikes, or Putin strikes, and takes up there is a Crimean Peninsula, one province, Crimea. It was taken up, and if you think about it, it's a very strategically very important place where it connects Black Sea with that port is very important because Black Sea and Mediterranean will be connected, and a country which is closed will not be that powerful. So Russia wanted to have that port because it will connect to Mediterranean, and it is opening up many avenues. And also it is a message. So Viktor Yanukovych was a friend, so okay, so now Poroshenko has come, so I will create problems. And in eastern sector also the problem started then itself. But Poroshenko was very keen on getting Ukraine into European Union and NATO. This kept happening, but Poroshenko's administration was a very corrupt administration. So this was the problem which happened in Ukraine. The person was leaning towards European Union, but the administration was very corrupt. And hence internally there were a lot of problems in Ukraine, and there came a person called as Zelensky. So the current president of Ukraine, Zelensky, he, for example, if you have seen the movie Mudalvan, I think in Hindi it was it was acted by Anil Kapoor. I forgot the name of the movie, but it is a movie in which the person, or the person who is a journalist, becomes a chief minister in a single day. This kind of, or for one day, and then he becomes the chief minister again. So like that, this Zelensky was a person who acted in a television series or a comedy series, which was where he enacts as a teacher. So he is a teacher who takes up this issue of corruption in a very big way, and people like this series. And immediately what happens is, so because Poroshenko happens to be a very corrupt person, or there was allegations of corruption against him, and hence Zelensky becomes the leader. And in this time only, so Zelensky, when it became the president, in this time only Putin is watching all these things happening. One more thing happened is that USA with the NATO was approaching Russia through these Western European states, now had a different problem. Now USA had China as that problem. China became a very important problem for USA, and hence USA started Indo-Pacific policy. or they started concentrating on surrounding China. They started concentrating on Japan. They started concentrating on forming a Quad organization. There is a Quad. This was a question in UPSC. So they formed this Quad security organization, where now it is transforming into economic and social organization also. But this in Southeast Asia. So in Indo-Pacific or Indian Ocean and Pacific, the US government started concentrating on circling China. They were circling Russia with that NATO force, but now they started circling China. This is the movement Putin was looking for. Now, because the concentration is on Indo-Pacific, so now Putin starts to move. So this is the point. It's like a game of chess. The strike or the whole force is on the other side of the other side. So what Putin does is that he is enforcing himself into Europe now, and this point he does using Belarus. So there is a country to the north of Ukraine. There is and he uses Belarus as the place for launching this attack. So from eastern side, the provinces, the Donetsk and Lushenko, which was creating problem from the earlier times, are now used as a platform for striking Ukraine. But it is also using Belarus as a route for striking through the north. And if you check this, in Belarus there was a person called as Alexander Lushenko. This was a dictator. Or in 2020 there was a election which was rigged. There was a huge protest against this Alexander Lushenko, stating that this person has rigged this election. As a result, he has become this president again. He is becoming president again and again. And the world did not notice that. World noticed that, but they did not care. And if you think about it, these dictators, be it Putin or the Alexander Lushenko or the Viktor Yanukovich who was there, all they cared about was themselves. And if you think about it, this is not the last these dictators will come, or these dictators will think about their benefit and they will not think about any other benefit. They will think about these strategic or these moves as strategic or geostrategic moves for the welfare of the country as a nationalistic duty, but it is at the end of the day to save themselves. At the end of the day, it is for concentrating powers among themselves. And the world has to now think very hard whether we would want democracy or countries having democratic form of government with leaders who think about democracy, welfare of people, rights of people. Think about the world problems like climate change, nuclear weapons, whether we are going to sort out those things or we are going to have dictators like Vladimir Putin or Alexander Lushenko or others who are going to terrify us with all these weapons and mass weaponry, which is now you can see the images which are happening in Ukraine, which is a very traumatic image to see. I hope this war comes to an end soon and the world wakes up to all these challenges, because now if you think about it, in the United Nations Security Council, Russia has abstained, or Russia is sent given the veto. Obviously they will give the veto against the resolution against it, because it is a resolution against them. But China has abstained. This move should, because it's not the end. They will not stop with this. We have to watch all these happenings as it happens. I hope this comes to an end and we think about the global welfare as a whole. I hope you like this video, so please do like it, share it, subscribe to Minds of Aspirant channel, and there is a link for Minds of Aspirant Telegram group as well in the description. You can click it and join, and any doubt regarding mains, prelims or interview or whatever doubt regarding UPSC you may have, you can ask in that group. I will be very willing to reply to you in that group. So thank you for watching. Have a good one.